Hello, friends. Let me adjust my microphone. Sorry. There-ish. Welcome. Hello. um, I'm a little bit late. That's okay, though. Welcome in, everyone. Glad to have you. Today is Friday, which means we're going to be working on fresh spots. So if you're new to this app, this is something we've been working on for a few months now. This is stream number 14. And what feels like an endless series of streams. We're working on this app that will allow users to create and share lists of places to visit. And this is being built with Deno and Fresh. So Deno is a modern runtime for JavaScript, and Fresh is the next-gen web framework. So that's what we're using. And today, we're probably just going to be working on editing and updating lists and sharing lists. We're so close to being able to actually share lists. So close. Hopefully we'll get there. Season 3, episode 24. Next gen. Yeah. I mean, I guess technically this is all season 1. It's season 1 until we launch, basically. One day your kid's going to open up a PR. Yeah. Cool. So last time we fixed a few bugs and we started working on being able to edit the properties of a list. We actually didn't quite get that done. We got the UI working, but we still need to update the backend to allow for that. And then there's some UI tweaks that we want to do. Like, this is something I want to work on today. The extracting the confirmation button. So that when you click like delete or some other action, there's a inline user interface that allows the user to confirm that action. Yeah, so I'll give you an overview of everything you can do so far. And technically we put this in the doing column. I want to create a link that I can share with others, but we're working on the slug aspect of it, and we need that to be done before we can work on that. So I'm going to move that back into do, and actually I'm going to move this extract confirmation button into the doing, because that's going to be part of what we do today. Yeah. So I like Trello for because it's how do I say this? It is not complex, right? Like you literally can create whatever columns you want. And Anonymous, thank you very much for that gift. Appreciate you. And congrats to Xerus. They watch the stream a lot. That's awesome. But it's what are the words to describe my feeling? It is not Jira, basically. And Jira has its place. So if you've ever used Jira at a company for project management, it's a lot. It includes a lot of stuff, which makes sense for like larger teams and more stuff happening. And BG NYC, thank you very much for the 1 whole year. That's awesome. Yeah, so Jira is a lot. Trello is super simple. Here's an example. At my last company, we were using Jira, and we wanted to switch from estimating with story points to estimating with hours. It was something like that. And there was this whole long process to even migrate the project. A similar thing, like we wanted to switch from like Kanban to Scrum. And again, you had to like migrate the process. Trello, super simple. Like if you create a board, it literally starts with nothing. So let me create a new board. Create a board. This will be red test board. And let's put it in my personal workspace. Here it is. It literally starts blank. You can create whatever columns you want. So I typically do to do, doing, and done. But if you have another flow or another process, you can create those columns. And I do believe they have some templates you can go from as well. And then from there, you just start adding cards. And if you want to add more features, they also have what are known as power-ups. So you can do things like add card numbers. That's probably one of the main power-ups that I add. So that way every card has a number, and then you can, if you have it in GitHub, then when you open a feature branch on GitHub, you can use the card number, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's the main reason I like Trello. It's super simple. I think for larger teams and bigger projects, it might make sense to use something like Jira or Asana, but Trello is super simple for the simple things that I want to do, which is why I use it. And I think somebody mentioned there's like a new, There's one that came out recently that somebody was mentioning. I don't remember what it was, but it might be newer and similar. But yeah, GitHub Projects is another one you could potentially use, especially if your code's already on GitHub. I thought that whenever you use GitHub Projects, that every card on the board had to be tied to an issue inside of the repo, but apparently that's not the case anymore. Yeah, so Oscar's mentioning you don't actually need issues. That was one of the main reasons I chose Trello, because like typically if all of your development workflow happens in GitHub, like you have issues that then need to be put into the backlog, that kind of thing, it makes sense to have it all integrated here. But this project, while I am accepting PRs, for the most part is just me working on it, and I don't really want to create a bunch of issues that people will start making pull requests for, because for this project I want to do all of it and I want it to all be on stream. So yeah. Oh yeah, I haven't used Notion, but Notion does have like similar like Kanban boards as well. Yeah. We started using Jira at work recently. It seems to be fine for the most part. We'll see as we spend more time with it. Yeah, I think that's I think rigid. Rigid is the word I was searching for earlier. Trello is not rigid. Jira, fairly rigid. once you've established your workflows and your processes, it's very hard to change from what you have set up for your project, at least in my experience. Yeah. Yeah. U-Track. Never heard of it. Welcome in, Electrothermal. Happy Friday to you too. Edit the UI. Add a hover pencil on the end of the line. Oh, I like your idea, Morpheus. We'll work on more UIs for editing. Like I just want to get everything working, and then we can really focus on the UX. Yeah. And then ClickUp. Never heard of that. Yeah, I think the thing about Notion is it's a lot more than just a board. And then ClickUp looks like almost like Notion, and they probably have boards in it too. Interesting. Yeah. U-Track is a JetBrains issue. Oh, interesting. Let's write some code. Let's stop talking about project management. It's okay though. It's interesting to talk about, but to summarize it, Trello is super simple. It stays out of my way. For this project, it's all I need. Other projects have a lot more features, or other project management software have a lot more features that I don't necessarily need for this project. All right, we'll keep talking about it. What is linear? A better way to build products. They have dark mode. That's nice. I'm not a project manager, no. Though in my career as a software developer, I have often worked on projects where I had to write the user stories myself, and I had to do a lot of project management myself. So yeah. All right, let's say hi to everybody. We're going to welcome everyone in, and then we'll start writing some code. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate you. This is the Coding Garden, and today we're going to write some code. You can be sure of one thing. We're going to write code today. But first, let's welcome everyone in. If you would like me to acknowledge you, you can say hi, hello, hello, hey, yo, cheers, greetings, hi, sup, what's up, morning, afternoon, evening, howdy, good day, coding, hiya, vohio, or boga hey. Say any one of these things, and I will notice you. Let's go back in time to 27 minutes ago when Mark was the first person to say hello. Welcome in, Mark. Glad to have you. What's up, Limotes, and Otmain, and Cesar, and Publip, and Zayad Waggy, and Veritatas, and Mark Boots, and Pablo, and Valk, and Salahuddin Ahmed. I can never say your name, and I'm sorry. Salahuddin Ahmed. And I don't know if you noticed, Salahuddin, but I gave you VIP. Hearts in chat for Salahuddin. They have made a bunch of pull requests to my repos that like make the readmes way better, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. They made a PR to my Code Katas repo and also my Coding Improv repo. It's pretty awesome. What's up, Ryan? Hello, Timon and Eol and Alex. Hello, Coder Mutahai, and Kava, and 3 Bassett, and Stony Eagle, and Non-Major Nerd, and Wucha, Distant Sense, and Pyramid, and MD Subuntu, and Be Nameless, and CFM, and Beamth Julian, and Kizmine, and 0x Gamer, and Demerka, and Yash, and John Poon, and Fab, and Retrovert, and Oscar, and Cute Pony, and Wayside, and Chai T Coder, and Mohide, And Nookie Poo, thank you for the bits. Have I heard about Volta? No. Maybe that's the one people mentioned last time. Supercharged GitHub experience. I'll check it out after I say hello. Wow, wow. Yeah, you're welcome, Saluted. You deserve it. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Salahuddin. 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 Is that right? WBW. Thank you for the 5 months. Hello, Tarawa. Welcome in. What's up? Escape the Rage and Acid Spark and Mr. Lieutenant and Killer and Jim McDonald and Jycon Gaming. Hello. What's up, League Geek and Jaimon and Juggernaut. Welcome in. And Carnex. Thank you for the raid. If you came in on the raid, say hi. I'll say hello to you right now. Well, what were you working on, Carnex? React web development portfolio website. Nice. Nice. But yeah, we're just getting started. And today we are going to be writing a whole lot of TypeScript. What's up, XPalma? Welcome in. All right. What is this? Volta. Work faster with automated issue boards, a reimagined inbox, and command menu. I mean, honestly, this seems pretty cool. Like, on the surface, this kind of seems like it basically turns GitHub... It's like extreme GitHub project management integration, right? Because you have, like, repos, issues... Huh. A whole lot of TypeScript. What's up, TypeScript? This is cool. Thank you for sharing, Nikki. I'll have to check it out later. Cool. All right, let's go. I need to start up Docker, and then I'll give you a tour of what the app can do. So first of all, all of our data is stored in a Postgres database. So when I start up this Docker container, that is starting up a Postgres database in the background. And then I can start up the app with Deno task start. And it will start. And then we can take a look. So this is Fresh Spots. Right now we just have this AI-generated dinosaur. Later on, we want to replace this with a random artificially generated or AI-generated dinosaur. But one thing is you can log in with Discord. So we have the whole OAuth flow. And apparently I need to log in. So give me a second. Man, I forgot what email I used for this. Give me a second. How's everybody doing? The thing is, I don't want to log in with my personal account, and I created an account just for this. So give me a second. I mean, I want to say... Please click each image containing a cactus in the sand. Please click each image containing a plant hanging from the ceiling. And thank you, Kava. Yeah, this is my dinosaur t-shirt. Hanging from the ceiling. Great. The email is wrong. I guess I could just log in with my personal account. One more try. And Smithsaw, welcome in. It keeps showing me cactuses. There were cactuses in pots, cactuses hanging from the ceiling, and then cactuses in the sand. Man, all right. Actually, I'll just register for a new account. I might have added a phone number. I don't think I did. So before I can log in with OAuth, I have to verify my account. I can do that. Cool. Yeah, and so if you have just bin bash, then that's potentially the bash that is already installed and not the one from brew. User local bin bash, I believe, is the one that's set by brew. It also might vary if you're on a newer Mac. I'm not familiar with setting up brew and bash on a newer Mac. Okay, we're in. Well, I guess I should. This is painful. I don't know why I got logged out. Okay. Let me set my user image and everything, because right now everything's like totally messed up. Okay, Limotes. Well, I need to put in, the issue with that is your old list doesn't have a slug. I think I can fix it though, because I can change the link to be by ID instead, and that's something that we added. Okay, so just a minute, just a second. We're almost there. Just a moment. This. What's up, Bob? It's been a while. Welcome in. All right. It took me a second, but I've done it. Now I can show you the full flow. Okay, so this is Fresh Spots. When you click login with Discord, that's using OAuth. So it's redirecting us to discord.com, so that way we can log the user in. Right now, we're only requesting public profile information. We're not requesting email or anything else like that. So once you accept, I'll wait, because there's an ad. If it ain't one thing, it's another. And we're back? Are we back? Okay. Yeah, okay, I have my ad. It technically, it says there's 36 seconds left in the ad, so I'll wait. For those of you that aren't seeing the ad, feel free to sub with Prime if you want to support me. And I published a YouTube video today, so definitely check that out on the main channel. Subscribe. 13 seconds left. Okay, the ad is over. And thank you, Bob. It's my Deno shirt. All right, everyone. We're back. I just logged in. You can see that we're pulling my username and my profile image from Discord. That's awesome. And I can create a list. So let's try creating a list. I'm going to call this Parks I've Visited Live on Stream. All the parks from my IRL streams. Cool. So this is what we were working on last time. So once you've created the list, now you have the ability to like edit the title and edit the description. But we can add a spot to the list. So let's go in here, and we're going to add this park right here, which is where we were on the IRL stream that I did a few days ago. Is this it? This is it. Okay. and then we walked over and we went to this park, Commons Park. There we go. So if you click on the map, now that's going to add a spot. I can give that spot a name like Commons Park. Nice park with lots of paths and open fields. Let's take a quick stretch. I'll update this later. Yeah. We're making you yawn. I'm sorry. It's just that, like, we started and I was like, okay, we got momentum. We're going to get right into this. We're going to start talking. And then I had to create an account and then we got an ad. You can't win. Okay, click add spot. And now that sends a post request to the backend. It gets added to the list, and now it is in the list. And then we can add another park. So one of the ones I went to was called a Garfield Lake Park. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Let's add it there. A small park with a lake. Also has a bike trail with wooden bridges. Add spot. Great, so now we got 2 spots in the list. Awesome. If I go back to my dashboard, you can see the list that I created, and if you click on edit, it brings it up, and I can see those 2 spots. And then right now, the way this works is if you click on one of the spots, that actually opens up the edit field where you can go in and make some changes. And then we also have it so that, like, if you go in and then you make a change, you can see that it turned yellow. And if I click cancel, we get this confirmation dialog. Like, are you sure you want to discard these changes? Yes, discard those changes. So that's one of the things I want to do today is I want to take this this piece right here. It's essentially like a confirmation dialog. I want to extract it into a reusable component. So that way, when you're up here, when you're editing the list name, you can have a similar user experience, because right now the delete button just deletes it. There's no confirmation, so I want to add a confirmation for that. Yeah, and so that's the other way, is if you click on the card, it'll take you over to that spot as well. And if you don't have any unsaved changes, you can click on other cards. But the moment you start having unsaved changes, you can't move around until you have either canceled or saved those changes. So that's a lot of the UI work that we've been working on. And then you can see in the URL, this is another thing we added recently, which is slugs. So you have this nice looking URL that matches the title of the list. And what we want to do today, eventually we'll get there, I want to be able to create a link that's like list / like something like user/1/list/that. So you could take this link, share it with someone, and they could actually view this list, because right now it's edit only. So we have all of our auth working. So if I log out and I attempt to go to that URL, I'm going to get redirected because I don't have a cookie. And even if I was logged in, I technically, if I wasn't the same user, I would get redirected as well, because we're making sure that you actually own that list in order to be able to edit it. So that's the majority of the functionality so far. Can anyone think of anything that I didn't show? I guess technically you can delete the list too. So this save button doesn't work. That's one of the first things we're going to get working today. But then right now, if you click delete, it instantly deletes. But what I want to fix right now is it should show us a confirmation dialog. It shouldn't just immediately delete the list. It should say, are you sure you want to do this? So yeah. Cool. Yeah, and so eventually we're going to add a search option. So right now, the only way to add spots is just by scrolling around on the map and then clicking. We want to tap into like the Google Places API or some other, like maybe the Yelp API or something like that. So that way you don't have to click on the map. You can search for a place and then it'll automatically go there. Yeah. Yeah. New to-dos? I mean, we have this one here. Okay, let's just start. We're going to extract this confirmation button, and let's look at the code to see how we're going to do that. But I think Limeote found a bug that should be easy enough to fix. The list, dashboard list, should link to edit by ID if slug is not defined. Because that's what's happening right now. Because last time we made it so that you had to use the slug instead of the ID, but then that broke it for existing lists that didn't have a slug, so we'll get in and fix that. Can? Can't? What are you talking about? I think you can set up that kind of integration, Ryan. Yeah, it is possible to set it up with GitHub integration. We never did that at the job I was working at. I don't know why, but we never did. Okay, so right now, that confirmation button is in the code at the spot form. So this is that individual form for when you're editing a single spot. All of that code is in here. And then we have this state variable is canceling. And then we have a UI that shows all of that. So if we are canceling, we show this, are you sure you want to do that, etc., etc. So let's extract this into a reusable component. I'm going to call this a confirmation buttons. Buttons with confirmation, something like that. Yeah, and so the concept of islands, and yeah, so I showed you what the app does. We haven't really talked about the technical details of what's happening here. With Fresh, everything is server-side rendered for the most part, and there is no build process. So there's no build step, meaning the code that I have written actually gets run and rendered at runtime. Even when I deploy this app, there is no build process. It's actually, I mean, ultimately this TypeScript code does need to get turned into JavaScript, but all of that's transparent to us because Deno just does that by default. So Deno automatically will transpile it, and then it runs the code. But what that means is everything is server-side rendered. So if I look at the source code of this page in particular, there is literally no JavaScript. It literally, like, there's all of our buttons, everything else. If we look at the network request, let's see what happens here. Yeah, technically it is sending some JavaScript down, but that might have to do with the dev process, like when we're not in production. But for the most part, this page was completely server rendered, meaning when the web browser received it, it was actually just HTML elements. But if you want pieces of your app to have client-side JavaScript, you need an island. And so this right now, all server rendered. But then when we go to this page, this has a whole lot of client-side JavaScript because, I mean, technically you can probably figure out a way to server-side render like the initial map load, but a highly interactive map like this needs to be client-side. Wait, what's happening? Oh, okay, I was scrolling the wrong way. So all of this is JavaScript. And then when we add a spot, let's see, let's add a spot. Yep. Here we go. We'll add the Denver Zoo. When I click add spot, we actually have this doing client-side JavaScript. Technically, you could set it up in a way where this makes a form data post request and then the page completely reloads. But that doesn't make sense for this user experience because we don't want the page to reload. We want the map to stay and everything. So when I click add spot, that is actually just client-side JavaScript that's making a request. So for that, we used an island, and Fresh knows the difference between the two. Essentially, anything defined inside of components and anything defined inside of routes, all of that is going to be server-side rendered. If you want client-side code, you have to put it in the islands folder. And so that's what we have here. So I am going to create a new component called confirmation. I'm going to call it confirmation buttons because this is actually going to hold the, yes, I want to do that, it's going to hold multiple actions that you would potentially need to confirm. So we're going to call this confirmation buttons. Confirmation prompt. So here's what I'm thinking though. Like essentially, it is going to contain this entire thing. So like you'll be able to pass in to the component the text you want to display for this green button, the text and the color you want for this other button, and then this button will not have confirmation. This button will just do it, and then this button has confirmation, because you'll see when I do that, it actually replaces all of the buttons. So what I'm thinking is this entire thing will be the component, because then we can swap it out right here. So I can pass down a prop that will set the color and the text of this button, the color and text of that button. This one will have a callback that just does whatever it wants. This one will have a confirmation before it has the callback. And the main reason I'm going to do that is because you can see here that I'm replacing the entire UI. Like, I mean, technically we could do all of this in a single button, but I like being really explicit with like yes keep changes or discard changes. So here we go. We're gonna have a function. We're gonna call it confirmation button. Yeah. So in React, they don't call it slots. In React, it's just your children. Yeah. So yeah, we'll figure out how to. I'll figure out as I go. So when doing this kind of thing, sure, you could just sit down and try to figure out what you're going to do, but I'm just going to do it as I go and do what it makes sense. And what makes sense to me is to go in here and grab this is canceling stuff that we already had, and pull it into the component. And really, it's this entire thing. So if we're canceling, render this. If we're not canceling, render this other thing. And I'm going to pull all of that into this component, and then we'll figure out the best way to refactor it. Okay. Is canceling is a state variable that needs to be in this component. So I'm going to pull this state variable out of here and pull it into here. Yeah, there's some blue dinosaurs on my shirt, so they're transparent. And then we need a use state to come in from preact hooks. So we're going to import use state from preact/hooks like that. Cool. So we have that, and then we need a few other components. So I need to bring in the alert component. What else? That should be it, because all of this conditional logic is actually going to be passed down as a prop. If I wore a blue shirt, my body would just be invisible. Okay, so this piece right here, this button, when we click it, oh no, so never mind. So this is the cancel button, and so I think we will. Yeah, we'll do this. Really just needs to set canceling. And now in this case, it's not really is canceling, it's like is confirming. So I'm going to rename this. Is confirming. And then set is confirming. Because in one scenario, we're doing a cancel, and the other scenario, we're doing a delete, but both of those require some kind of confirmation. Cool. So when you click cancel, it triggers that entire thing where it's showing the rest of that UI. Now, this is where the parent component, or the component that's consuming this, can pass down the button here. So this we'll say children, or we'll have them pass in a prop that is I guess we can just call this write buttons. We'll come up with a better name, but basically you can put anything you want to the right of the cancel button. Cool. And then this will be the confirmation button text. Control-Shift-I? Control-Shift-L? What are you talking about? Oh, it doesn't. So yeah, we're going to remove all that code valk because the parent component knows about the editing spot stuff. This one doesn't need to know about that. We're slowly removing it. So what will happen is we set is confirming to false. So if they click the discard changes, then, oh yeah, no worries, Ryan. I was like, what are you talking about? So this set's confirming to false, and then we want to let them know that we did that. So we'll have a prop called like on confirm, and we'll invoke it when the person clicked discard changes. And then if they click keep changes, we do nothing. Okay, so now we got a bunch of props that we need to bring in here. So the first one is confirmation button text. And this is going to default to, I guess, cancel. The other thing we have are write buttons, and these are React nodes. Fresh right now is Preact only, but there is a way to pull in React stuff to Preact, but we tried pulling in a React hook form last time and we ran into some issues, so it's not completely straightforward. Okay. This needs a type. And I don't know what that type is. It's going to be something like a Preact node. Let's see what we got in here. We have a node. I'll have to figure that out in a second. I'll go look at the Preact docs. Preact.functional component, or is it just vnode? I don't know why I'm not getting autocomplete. Does vnode come from Preact? Or is it like Preact.vnode? Yeah. Yeah, and I do have a Learn to Code playlist. So if you check out that playlist on my YouTube, the first 2 videos will help you in deciding how you're going to learn to code. Oh, good call. Thank you, Codex. We're pulling it in from the completely wrong spot. So import vnode from Preact directly. And does this exist? It do. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Import type. Great. Or not. Oh, never mind. We are we need this as an interface. So I'm going to have an interface called confirmation button props, and this will have a write buttons property that is of type vnode. Great, and then confirmation button text is optional because we default it to cancel, but that is of type string, like that. And then we can say that this component is of this type confirmation button props. And that should fix the typings for us. Or do we do it like this? I guess we can do it like that. This seems fine. This seems fine. Yeah. Oh, glad to hear it, Evil Rex. Glad to hear it. Okay, so we have the write buttons. We got the confirmation button text. We need on confirm, which is going to be just a plain old function. Function that returns anything. And then we can put these as props as well. So keep changes are the cancel confirm. Cancel confirm text. So the cancel confirm text is a type string. It is optional because we're going to default it to keep changes. like this, and then I need to come up with a better name. So when you click discard changes, this is the confirm text. So like confirm. I think that should be fine. Confirmation text. And this should just be cancel text. I think that's fine. And this is discard changes. And then cancel text is a string, and confirm text is a string as well. So I wanted to be careful. Like if I do void, then TypeScript is going to complain if someone passes a function that returns, like even if it returns a promise, which is why I did any. I guess we could go in here and like, it's very possible that that is going to return a promise of any. So then there's the any type still. You see what I'm saying though? I think, can I just do that this is a function? And then it can be any kind of function? Unknown. Unknown is better. Thank you. Yeah. Good call. Okay. Cancel text. Confirmation text. All right, I'm going to extract everything, and then you all can help me come up with better variable names because I don't know about all this. Okay, the other thing is, this is the confirmation message right here. Confirmation alert message? Oof, oof. You're so it'll all make sense in a second. Like basically we have to extract it first, and then I'll show you how we use this thing. Once we use it, it should click a little bit more, because right now it is very abstract, because I'm thinking about this in the context of being able to use it in many different places. So yeah, and then on confirm we need to pull from here as well. All right. Well, instead of the color, yeah, so we'll pass the colors for this one. Like button warning. Do it something like this. Confirmation button classes. Oh, class. Confirmation button class. Sometimes the color is red, sometimes the color is yellow, based on our UI anyways. Confirmation button class. Which is a string, and it's going to default to red. Button warning. What's up, Murdoch? Welcome in. Colors, sizing. Yeah, you're right. Because this should be confirmation button color, and then this technically has to be a color from Bootstrap. Confirmation button color. So like instead of string, we could say button warning, or no, yeah, we're in the interface. So this is button warning, or button danger, or button success. We can go find all the rest of them as well. Or button info, all that good stuff. An anonymous function for that click handler will cause the re-render of that component. I don't care. It's a tiny component. I don't think I care anyway else. And what's up, Latte the dev? Welcome in. Change it to an enum that you pass in, which specifies the type, and then the color is managed by the component. I want the user to be able to. I mean, I'm the user. I'm the one that's going to be using this in multiple spots, and I think when I use it, I just want to be able to pass in the specific color, because that will also potentially be different from the size. Let me get it working, and then we can talk about the best API for this. And for those of you that are watching this and like freaking out at the API that I'm building here, this is development. So like when you're extracting things into a component like this, these are the things that you should worry about. Like essentially all of these props that I'm making available are the developer experience. It's basically how other developers, in this case, I'm the only other developer, but if I were on a team, it's how other developers on my team would use this component throughout the code base. And there are some ways you can do it that will be better than others in terms of easier to work with, that kind of thing. Button color, and then button confirmation size. And then this will default to button large. Okay. I've done that. Seems fine. All right, so now we have a fairly generic component. Let's now use it on the spot form. So this is called confirmation buttons. I'm going to import it in @islands/confirmation buttons. Great. So we pulled the component in. And then right down here where we were using it, right here, this whole is canceling thing, that whole thing is just going to be replaced by confirmation buttons. And then we're going to pass in a whole bunch of props. So right now it's complaining that we're missing some of these props. Right buttons. So the right buttons are this. This piece right here is what I want to render as the buttons to the right of the thing. So here I can say right buttons look like that. Great. The other prop that is required is onConfirm. So onConfirm is going to be a function that does the thing. And so we can look at the code we had before, that when we click discard changes, this is essentially our confirmation. And so, well, no. Yes, it is. This is our confirmation. So this is the code that we want to go into onConfirm right here. Oh, there's another ad? Man, Twitch. Those two things. Great. And then everything else remains exactly the same. Let's see if it works. And so now this component got a little bit simpler, right? Now we're using confirmation buttons. We're telling it the right buttons are update spot, add spot, and then the defaults right now, like cancel, is what it's going to use. But when we use this component elsewhere, that's where I'm actually going to pass in these props to change them. Thank you, Nikki Poo. Predictions that it's going to work? Sure. Are you sure you want to cancel? You will lose any unsaved changes. Great. Because when we use this component elsewhere, the confirmation could be, or is going to be, are you sure you want to delete? That you cannot undo this, or something like that. Okay, but yeah, I like this type. Thank you, Nikki Poo. So Nikki Poo has defined all of the possible variants, and then I'm actually just going to pass that type in here, and then we'll prepend it with btn. So confirmation button color will be one of these. I'm going to call it button variant. Button color variant. Because technically these are like size variants. We could have different variants. But now that we have this button color variant, we need to prepend info to that. Quick stretch. Yeah, that's what we're going to do now. So we do btn dash whatever they passed in. And so whatever they passed in will be primary, secondary, success, danger, all that good stuff, but it will default to warning. Cool. Cool. All right, let's test this. We're going to run a prediction. Is this going to work on the first try? Oh, you guys already did it. Okay. We'll wait. Will it work with no errors? Will it work with no errors? All right, just say hi in chat so I can see if you're on it, if you think it's gonna work or you don't think it's gonna work. Yeah. Yeah, I think I missed your messages from earlier, Blazer, but you were talking about yeah. You're scared. I mean, some people believe in me. Some people don't. Prediction too fast? Okay. Well, there'll be more predictions today. All right. So Deno is running, it's not complaining, and this piece right here, this is the piece that we extracted into a component, so we just would expect it to work in exactly the same way. So let's refresh the page. We'll open the DevTools, make sure there's no errors. And here we go. So we'll click on this. We'll make a change. Cancel. Are you sure you want to cancel? You will lose any unsaved changes. Keep those changes. Okay. And so right now the change includes an exclamation mark. So cancel, discard changes, and it removes the exclamation mark. First try. Cancel. Cool. I think so. Now the UI was just too tiny. Like the button looks weird when it's over that way. But now, so for those of you that were like, what the heck are you doing here? Let's reuse this component. Let's do this same thing, but I now want to replace these two buttons right here with that dialog component. So over here, we've got ourselves the confirmation buttons. I'm going to copy, I guess we'll just do it. So yeah, it worked. Yeah. It worked. Those of you that believed in me, it worked. And then, I mean, I guess technically update spot should still, like we didn't test that, but this should still, that will actually save those changes. But updating doesn't require a confirmation. Canceling does require a confirmation. Cool. Now, I think one of the things was, though, that if there were no unsaved changes, we actually just let them click keep changes. Or if there were no unsaved changes, if they click cancel, then it technically it immediately cancels without confirmation. That's one of the things. That's another like UI thing that we need to fix, because yeah, there's a lot of UX. Honestly, just yeah, it's tiring just thinking about all the possible scenarios. But when they click this cancel button, I think we want another prop. And Murdoch, thank you very much for that gift to Oscar. But I think we want another prop that will say, like, if this prop is true, don't even set confirming false. Just do the thing. I think that's what we want. Because if unsaved changes is false, then we just immediately cancel. So let's come up with the name of that prop. It's going to be a Boolean. Like bypass confirmation. And this will be optional and default to false. But if it is true, whenever you click the cancel button, instead of immediately, so if bypass confirmation is true, we just say on confirm. We don't even do the whole UI thing. We just call on confirm, which will immediately cancel it. But if bypass confirmation is false, which is the default value, then we'll go through the whole confirmation flow. But what that now allows me to do is to pass in this prop, bypass confirmation, and this is if editing spot save changes dot value unsaved changes is true. So if that is true, then that. Yeah, so force confirmation. Yeah, we could go either route. Let's just see if this works, and then we can debate about the naming of this variable. Why the interface? Really, just because we're in TypeScript. So because we're in TypeScript, we are basically defining the types of every one of the props that's getting passed down. And what that allows us to do is when we're working with those props down here, we actually get type completion because it knows that cancel text is a string. It knows that on confirm is a function. It knows that these are a node that can be rendered there. So that's the main reason for these props, is to define those types so that way we can use them in the component. Yeah, and that's the other thing we get is TypeScript will tell us if we're missing a required prop. So right now on my interface, all of these ones that have question marks means that they are they can be left undefined. But because they can be left undefined, I gave a default value here. But what that means is when I am using the component over here, if I leave off a prop, TypeScript will tell me. So like if I get rid of this on confirm, TypeScript's going to yell at me, and it's like, yo, you're missing that on confirm. It's required. So that's the main reason of the prop types. Okay, so let's see if this thing works. So basically, if I didn't make, so right now I didn't touch it. I didn't make any changes. Cancel shouldn't tell me to cancel. Unsaved changes. True. So, what's up, Theo? Theo Shahan, welcome in. So the interface will make sure the type you'll use will be actually the type you've set by default. Yeah, so I mean, so that's one aspect of it as well. So if I pass in a Boolean here, TypeScript's going to yell and be like, yo, that actually needs to be a function. So it'll complain about that too. But also because I set it as a required prop, it complains when the entire thing is missing as well. Yeah, what's up, American 2050? It's going well, I'm trying to figure out... why... So bypass confirmation gets passed down as true? It should anyways. I only want to bypass if there are no changes. And editing spot unsaved changes should be true. Unsaved changes is false right now by default. Should be anyways. Yeah. It could be an issue with our signal here getting passed down. Let's see. I'm just going to log it in the render of this component. Bypass confirmation. Also, I'll just log rendering. So we'll see how often this thing renders. All right, here we go again. Bypass confirmation is false. Unsaved changes is false. I just can't think through this Boolean. I think I need to flip it. I think I need to just say not here. Cancel. Bypass confirmation is true. So when I click cancel, I think I might have put this on the wrong button in this component. I did. It doesn't go here. This is the this is if they already didn't bypass the confirmation. This actually goes here. Okay, I messed that up. I put it on the wrong button. Cancel. There we go. Okay. That should do. Okay, so now if there are no unsaved changes, I can click cancel. I don't have to go through the whole confirmation. But if I make a change, see all those? Yeah. So this is what Codex was mentioning. I'm technically re-rendering this component right here every time there's a state update. So that's the thing. But honestly, it's tiny. I don't know if I need to use meme. I think actually if I did use callback, it would fix it. Actually, let's use meme. Let's see if that will fix it. Yeah, because so basically, so this is a lesson for all you React people out there, people new to React or whatever. Basically, when the state changes, this spot form will re-render. And because I have defined this function inline, every time the parent re-renders, it passes a new function down to confirmation buttons, which will re-render because this function was there. So what I could do is pull this into a memoized thing. I actually use callback is what I need in this scenario. And thank you, Mary Jo. He has my dinosaur t-shirt. So let's pull this into a thing called confirm update. Confirm submit. Because sometimes it's update, sometimes it's add. And then we can use this thing called use callback from preact hooks, and then take our little function and wrap it in that. So if I say confirm submit equals use callback with this, and it has no dependencies. I mean, technically, it has these signals as a dependency. This should be fine, I think. Let's see. But basically, by doing this, now Preact or React knows that it should only create that function once and shouldn't pass it down multiple times. So now that I've done that, we shouldn't see all of these re-renders when I'm editing in the form above it. So now we still see a bunch of re-renders. What else am I passing down? First try. It's possible that because I'm passing down a signal, it's possible that that's why it's re-rendering. Blame your typing speed on the re-renders. Yeah, and so Blazor Pazer Pfield is mentioning that's why React is complicated. If I were in Vue, I wouldn't have to think about this. Also, if I were in Svelte, I wouldn't have to think about this. Also, check this out. Let's just go back to the code that I have. Let's go back to this. Check this out. If I don't log, then I don't have to think about it as well. Done. Out of sight, out of mind. Now I don't know that it's updating over and over again. Okay, cool. I can cancel it. I can do this. It tells me I have unsaved changes. I can discard those changes. Beautiful, beautiful. I have the empty array thing. I thought you still had to pass a dependency array to the use callback. Yeah. The CPU will still have to think about it, but I don't. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Yeah, let's see how. Okay, I guess I will worry about it. Let's see. And Ixie's official. Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, because use callback. Technically, you specify your dependencies in that array. To think my code is perfect, I just close my eyes. Yeah. Great. Great. But honestly, this is one of the reasons that I don't like React, is because these are the kind of things that you have to think about. Whereas with other front-end frameworks, it kind of just handles that and it doesn't re-render a bunch. But regardless. Programming is hard? Yes. Yes, it is. Do I also memo the component I'm passing the callback to? Oh no, I shouldn't have to do that. React is smart enough that if it sees that the props that were passed down to this component are exactly the same as the previous render, it won't attempt to re-render the child. At least I thought. I don't know. But we've done the refactor. Now let's see if my refactoring is good enough. So at this point, we've refactored it for one use case, which is this thing. Now I want to refactor it for this use case. And basically I want it so that when I click delete, it doesn't just immediately delete the list. It needs to, it'll show me that confirmation just like it does in this scenario. So here we go. Let's go over to our sidebar. And I guess this is, no, not our sidebar. This is going to be in the list form. So where are we having this delete button? Right here. And I'm curious, so we have this div wrapper with flex, justify in, gap 2. I'm curious on the confirmation buttons, does the parent div have that? Justify in, margin top 3, gap 3. Yeah, it does. So over on the list form, I'm actually going to replace this entire div with the confirmation buttons component. Confirmation buttons like this. And then again, so now, now we're going to test, is this a good developer experience? Like, can I find the right prop names? So the confirmation button text should be delete, all caps delete. And on confirm should be delete list. And then confirmation button color should be danger, like that. And this is the other cool thing about that, the variant that Nookie sent us. Basically, we get type completion. So now we know all of the different colors that we can pass in. So I want danger. Great. And then this is going to be our right buttons. So right buttons is going to be that. That should do it. We can update the text. So the confirmation alert message, let's update this. Are you sure you want to delete this list? This cannot be undone, and all associated spots will be deleted as well. So that's the confirmation text. And then our cancel text will say, don't delete. Or keep. Just keep, not don't delete, just keep. Confirmation text will be yes, delete. No, keep. I don't know. We'll come up with the right stuff, but this should do it. So now when I click this button, we're going to get that, that same UI, but it is for the list instead. And you can see that we passed the color in, it's setting it as delete, but now if I click it, boom, we get this confirmation dialog. So that's essentially the refactor that we just did. We took this thing that was down here, and then we repurposed it so that we could use it in other places. Are you sure you want to delete this list? This cannot be undone, and all associated spots will be deleted as well. No, keep it. Cool. Yes, delete it. And then it deletes it. We needed a prediction on it. Look. First try. Everybody just put first try in the chat. We did it first try. But at this point, we can start to think about like what are better prop names. Like at this point, I think I've done a good abstraction. I've extracted out all the pieces that are reusable, and that happen in both situations. Now it's just a matter of like, is the API rigid, right? Because at this point, the only thing I offer up are write buttons. Someone was mentioning in the chat. It was Blazer. Blazer mentioned it earlier. It's like, this is somewhat rigid because now I can only have buttons to the right. You could come up with an API that basically allows, also, like instead of just passing in the confirmation button text, you could allow the user to pass in like a full button instead of just the text. There's a lot of different ways that we could go here. Yeah. If you want user to be really sure, make them click 5 times. Well, I mean, actually, I kind of do this. So if you go to join our Discord, the Coding Garden, if you go here, so you want to join the Discord, and then you're like, yeah, let's join it. Click this button again if you really did read the message above. If you didn't read it, please read it, and then it redirects you. But yeah, you could give people like a bunch of confirmations for sure. Cool. So yeah, how do you all feel about this? I think I like this sentence. Like, no, keep the list. Yes, delete list. I think I like that UI. Let's see. And then we could probably also pass in, let's pass in a color for this button, because I really want that button to be red. That is a, okay, I like that. I like it. The description is a password field? No. In the create form, why is there a delete button? Because, so this form is repurposed. So, or is multi-purpose. I believe if we look over here, I guess also, did we conditionally render create? I think we did. So yeah, this might not actually work. But we'll fix that in a second. I like this. Keep list, delete list. Yeah. No, type your password to confirm. I mean, there are some UIs that like GitHub, for example, makes you not necessarily type your password, but GitHub makes you type the name of the list that you're deleting. I'm okay with just the button confirmation. Oh no, I didn't put hello in there. I literally did ... Is hiding the edit list form by default in the backlog? No. You mean that like this up here? Like should we not see this by default? No. Though we have, I think we've broken it though, because if I go to create a list, now it shows delete. And that is not a thing that you should be able to do when you're creating a list. So technically, we should only render the confirmation buttons if we are editing. editing an existing one. So if we're editing, show confirmation buttons. And this will just say save. But if we're not editing, then we simply just have a button that says create. Like this. So when we're on the edit page, it's going to show the confirmation buttons. When we're not, it'll just show this, which actually submits the form. So now if we go to create list, it has that. Though that we actually need a wrapper if it's just a single button. This. Great. Best Thai food in Denver. Cool. Personally, I respect it, but I don't like it. I would have gone with modal dialogues. Yeah, I've talked about in the past how I don't like modals, simply because they often, especially if you're doing any sort of routing in your UI, if you use modals, a lot of time that's like state in the page itself, where pretty often that state should like be represented in the URL, so it almost should just be like a separate page in a way. But having it in line prevents that like weird UI flow. Yeah. And that's the other thing, Blazor, exactly. Like, it's so easy to just click this delete button. You really want to make sure that the user meant to click that delete button. Yeah, and so we have to completely rethink what the UI is going to look like for mobile, because this is purely a desktop UI. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Shameless plug. You can save the state to the URL with SpellKit search params. Well, if you're using SpellKit, but yeah. Okay. What now? I think I like this refactor. And so here's the thing. Like, if you were paying attention, you saw that when I started this refactor, a lot of opinions in the chat. A lot of people like, oh, do it this way, do it that way. There's so many different ways I could have refactored this. And I will agree that we could probably come up with a better refactoring, but ultimately the way that I like to do things is so right now I'm the consumer of this component in my code base. And as we start to use this component in other places as well, we will realize potentially what other props need to be passed down. We'll realize where this is potentially rigid and we need to make it less rigid so that it's reusable in more places. But my flow is to typically just refactor it to the best of my ability and then keep on moving. Like, you could spend hours just thinking about what is the best API for this little confirmation button props component. And I think we settled on a decent enough one. Though we have one more thing. Let's pass in the confirmation variant color. Actually, I think we could pass in that same variant color here. Confirmation button variant. Oh, we're seeing ads. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, this this is a blue dinosaur tail. And so right about here, we'll do that. So that way the confirmation button has that color as well. Oh yeah, and thank you for whoever did that command. Yeah, privacy is pretty cool. I don't think I'm logged in. Am I logged in? Good, I'm not. Privacy essentially lets you generate debit cards on demand. I believe it's only for US, so if you're outside of the US, you can't sign up. But essentially, you can generate a debit card on the fly. It's locked. Once it's used, it's locked to a specific merchant. So, for instance, I used privacy to sign up for a Mapbox API key. So we're using Mapbox Studio for the map over on the right here, and Mapbox required that you put in a credit card in order to even use their free tier. But I generated a debit card with privacy. I used that when I was signing up, and I also set a monthly spending limit. So I set it to like $5. So if Mapbox does decide to charge me, they can't charge me more than $5 or it will get declined. And if for whatever reason Mapbox gets compromised and that credit card number gets leaked, no one will be able to use it because it's actually just locked to the merchant that you spent it, the initial spend was on. So this is great for like signing up for free trials and stuff like that. Yeah, and that's the other thing is don't use this for crime. don't be a criminal because I mean, I've thought about this extensively. Why would they offer this service? And I think it's to catch criminals. I think it's people that are trying to do dumb things on the internet and they think they're being somewhat incognito with these generated debit cards. So yeah, if you use this app, don't be a criminal. Use it for free trials. Use also if you're like, let's say you come across an online shop that you haven't necessarily used before. It's nice to know that if they get compromised, that credit card number won't get leaked to hackers, because it's simply tied to that merchant. So all of that to say, check out privacy. If you use this code, you get $5. I get $5 too. Okay. Let's make this save button work because the save button doesn't work right now. So let's look at our thing here. Extract confirmation button flow into a component. We've done that. Like I said, we might come back and refactor that component again, but this is good enough for me. Like I really don't want to spend all day thinking about the best way to refactor this component, but this is a good start. And if we need to reuse it in another place later on, we can continue to refactor it and make it more usable in other spots. Okay. Yeah. Oh, good call, Acid Spark. If you sign up for any gym, there's all kinds of like weird hidden charges and fees that you may not have known about and stuff like that. Yeah. I've never heard of Revolut. I've been using privacy for like over 6 years at this point, so that's why I recommend it. Easy money management. Cool. 3 done. 999 cards left. Okay, so let's work on this one. As a list editor, I want to edit all the properties of the list. So as you can see, we're showing this form here, but this save button doesn't actually do anything. This won't actually update the name and the description, or whether or not it's published and shown on your profile. We need to make this button work. Let's make this button work. So for that, we're going to need an API route. Or are we? Yeah, we'll create an API route. Because basically, I'll click this, makes the API request. On success, it will redirect back to the homepage, and that, well, actually, not even redirect back to the homepage. It'll just save, and then it doesn't need to redirect anywhere. I think that's why I want it to be an API, because there's no need to go to a different page. When I click save, it should just save those things as they are. That's it. That's all. So first of all, let's work on the backend route. So we've separated this out so that the things that we're doing with client-side JavaScript actually are API routes, like this. So we have right now a GET request for a list by ID or slug. We have a delete request for a list by ID or slug, and now we want a post request or a put request by ID or slug to update the list but with that given ID. So I am actually going to put or patch. Yeah. In our case, I'm going to make it a put. It's a full replacement of the list. Yeah. So we will have a put, and this is going to accept a spot list as the thing that we're sending to the API. I think that's how handler context works. The data that's in the post request, I do believe. If we're not logged in, just send back an unauthorized message. We have a to-do where we'll extract all of these into a common place. Right now, it exists in every one of our API handlers, but that's okay. And then we don't want to delete one. We want to update one. And we'll update by ID. I think it makes sense to update by ID. And on a successful update, and this is just update 1. I'll have to create this function. On a successful update, we'll just respond with that. So we'll do response.json with that. Before we pass it in, so technically we're passing in the ID of the list, the user ID, and then we actually also need to pass in the validated list itself. So the thing that we are putting into the database, we want to validate it before we put it into the database. So in this case, we need to do spotlist dot parse async. And this will be request.body. Let's see how we were doing this for spots, because we can update spots. Rec.json. Here we go. This is what we want. So the body, we parse the incoming body as JSON. We then pass that in here. Once we validate it, then we send it to the database to update that specific thing by ID. And then we're good to go. Validated. Good call. Validated list. Yeah. I'm curious about my usage of this type right here, this handler context. Because this actually didn't give me type completion. So, why do I need to return the object that I already have on success? That's just typically what you do with a REST-ish API. Basically, the client sends the data, you update it in the database, and then you respond with the updated data. You could do it a number of ways, but this is the more RESTful way to do it. Cool. So let's make this function update 1. So that is handled over here. So we have a DB folder, and then we have a queries folder where we're putting all of our specific queries. And then we have a function here, update 1. Takes in the ID, which is the list ID, takes in the user ID, which is the user making the request, and then it takes in the list itself, which is of type spot list, like this. Someone asked, we are using a library called Keysly. Which is really nice. If you've ever used connects in Node.js, it's very similar, but it has really good TypeScript support. So you can see here when they're doing a select from, they get type completion about table names. Type completion for table names, type completion for column names as well. And it's pretty slick. So that's what we're using here. And the main reason we're using it here is we were able to get it working with Deno. That's really the constraint of most of the things that we're doing is can we get it working with Deno? And this we have gotten working with Deno, which is great. Okay. I do believe this should be pretty simple. We'll just say return db dot update table spot list where ID, so you can see that I'm getting type completion for the column names. So where ID is equal to ID, and where the user ID is equal to user ID, like that. Set, and then we'll just pass in the list, because that's going to have all the properties that we're updating. And then execute take first or throw. So if the list was not found, so let's say somebody is logged in and like they do have a user ID and they try to make a put request against my API for a list ID that they don't have the ability, or they don't own. So where the user ID is not equal to their user ID, this will throw an exception because nothing was found to update. And that's what I want, because if this throws an exception, then the API handler that I wrote will, I already have a try catch, and then the catch will respond with an error. Whereas if I just did execute take first, if this returns null or undefined, which it would if they didn't actually own that list, then the API would respond with lost my train of thought. It would respond with null or undefined instead of the actual updated value. So that's it. Yeah. Isn't the ID property the user or class model? If so, isn't this redundant for the update one function definition? This is our data, our DTO, our data transfer object. So this list object does not have an ID on it. Specifically because we're going to be getting that ID from the URL. You'll notice that this also doesn't have a user ID. So basically, you can't update user ID. You can't update any of the other fields. These are the only fields that you have the capability of updating. And that's mainly because that also corresponds with the validations that we're doing. So also that needs to go away. But right here, when we parse it, this list that we get back, yeah. And so we have a couple of different models, but when we get this back, it's only going to have these properties on it. So if somebody passed in a different user ID or a different ID, it's just going to, it actually might throw an error, or it'll just strip them away. Okay. One thing I want to do, though, is technically we want to set the list, but I also want to, right now I need to manually set updated app like this. We have a to-do in our backlog that's like technical debt, where this really should be a database trigger instead of manually updating it like this. But for now, we're going to do it manually, and we'll do a refactor later. How do I get the user ID? It's sent in the request in a cookie. So this API handler right here has access to context.state.user ID. This user ID is set by a middleware right here. So this middleware runs for literally every single thing that gets requested from this app. This middleware runs, and it validates the signed cookie in the request, and then sets user ID on state. This doesn't throw an exception if you don't have anything set, but then there are other handlers that basically say, if you made it this far and you don't have a user ID, you're not logged in. So that's where we're getting the user ID, is straight from the cookie, which is why we have access to it right here. Yeah. Seems fine. Okay, so now we have ourselves back in route. Let's try using it. So we define the route. And now in the component. So this is in the list form. Whenever we click save, we want to make that API request. And right now, let's see what we're doing. Yeah, so Look at us. We left ourselves a comment. So right now, if we have a value that we're actually editing, we need to make the request to the API, and it's actually going to look very similar to this. So I'm just going to copy paste. We also have a ticket in our backlog where we need to extract a lot of this out into like a common client library, which we haven't done yet. But for now, copy paste. So this is going to be a put request. Let's take a quick stretch. Does it matter if I do ID first versus doing user ID first? I just need to make sure I pass them in the right order. But, well, in the order that I defined for the function. That's the only thing there. Yeah. Okay. So this is a put request to API lists and then lists ID. Like this. And so this will be editing list.value.id. So it's going to make a put request to that ID. We're using Postgres for the database. And then the body that we're sending just has name, description, public, and published. Great. If the response was okay, we actually don't want to redirect. We just want to do nothing. Do nothing. At this point, we just say the... I guess actually we want to replace editing list.value with the response. That's actually what we want to do. Because the thing we got back from the API, we'll just replace it. Let's extract out the spots, because I'm not actually responding with the spots. So we'll extract those out from editing list.value, and then parse the response as JSON, and then set the spots that we got back, and then set editing list.value to be the data. Something like this. So this will essentially replace the editing list value with it. And I guess technically I can parse the response here. Because if there was an error, we are responding with JSON that we could set right here. And then the last thing is, I think there's an unsave editing spot, unsave changes, not that. But Jessica Mack, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, raiders. We are writing some code. So we're working on this app here that essentially allows you to create lists of places. So for instance, we have like best Thai food in Denver, and then you can add spots to it, and then like best parks in Denver. But thank you very much for that raid. What were you working on? Music synced 3D action game. Nice. Is it a game that I can play, or is it not published yet? But yeah, thank you for that raid, and everyone click that follow button. I guess I'm not following. I should click that follow button. Okay, but what we're working on right now is this save button. So if we did everything correct, let's look at the console, make sure there's no errors and everything. If we did everything correct, this should work. All the best parks in Denver. I'm going to set it to published, show on my profile, and click save. Great. It's not working as intended. We can see that we made a put request. The put request responded with nothing. I think I need to update my query. My query needs to be like returning or something like that. Because right now it returned nothing. It returned an empty object. Oh, you're doing predictions? Oh, I thought you already launched one. It's okay if you didn't. It's okay if you didn't. Give me a second. Let me fix it. The thing is, I couldn't have predicted that this was going to break because I forgot about my queries. We need to look in the database queries. So when we did update, set, execute, take first, or throw. I mean... Why is it returning nothing? We're not using Next. This thing is, we're using a framework called Fresh, which works with Deno. So we're not even using Node. It's, we're using some really weird stuff. It looks familiar, but it's different. Okay. Execute, take, first, or throw. That didn't throw an exception because we got a 200 status code. 200, but for whatever reason, the thing that we got back was empty. So here in the put request, we get the updated list, and that's completely empty. I don't like it. But we are sending this info. So here's the thing. If I refresh the page, it does have those updated fields. But for whatever reason, that put request isn't responding with the actual data, which is unfortunate. So basically, this value we got back as an empty object instead of an object with the updated properties. Update one and get back. Couldn't find that ID. Oh, it did though. So, and I'll show you. So, all the best parks in Denver right now. If I save this, it got into the database. It's just the API is not responding. Like the API is giving back an empty object. Yeah, I could do a manual get after the update, but honestly, I think I do need returning. Returning star, maybe? Let's see. And I'm curious why I didn't have to do that in the spot. Returning all. Okay. I think that's what I'm missing. So then if we get rid of not now, right now, save. Yeah, that was it. And you can see that the API responded with the actual properties. Okay. I'm curious why we didn't do this whenever we were updating spots, but that's the trick. Basically, you need to tell the database that we want that data back after the request. Cool, it works. Cool, and I should be able to add some spots as well. So this is best parks in Denver. Let's go ahead and add City Park. Huge park with a zoo and the Museum of Natural History. Lots of beautiful greenery and flower beds. Add it. Great. So now we have this spot. We can go back over here. We can go in here. The spot still exists. I should be able to like update the settings of the spot. And I probably should show some UI feedback because right now I'm clicking save. There's no UI feedback that it actually is saved, which is funny. It lets you save the list without spots. Yeah, because they're stored separately. So when we do an update here, we're updating the list table and we're just updating these properties. Whenever we add a spot, that spot has a property called list ID. So it's just associated by list. And so we don't have to we're not sending the entire array of spots when we're just updating like name and description. Let's add this one. Great walk with a big lake. Add the spot. Publish shouldn't be allowed if there are no spots. It's up to you really, because it could be that you want people to see you working on this list in real time. I don't know. The list edit form should not be visible by default, and hiding it on update would be visible feedback. I like that. So basically, we'll have a button that says edit that shows this form. And Fob, thank you very much for that gift. Much appreciated. Yeah, and what's up, Razorson? I would say like the things within Deno are reliable, and a lot of people do use it in production. The main issue is the availability of various community packages and community support, because it's only been around for so long, and they don't yet have full backwards compatibility with Node and npm packages. Some packages are supported, but not everything. So a lot of the things that you're used to doing with Node, you have to find a package for it, and that's one of the tricky parts about it. Though there are a lot of people that are using it in production. This is not the park I took my dog to. The park I took my dog to is a little bit smaller. I think it's this one. Yeah, Garfield Lake Park. It's this one. Small lake with bike trails. Okay. A pencil with the name in a beautiful card box. So you mean like edit the name individually or the description individually? I don't know if I like that UI. Yeah, look at it. Garfield Lake Park. Am I planning to make this app accessible on mobile? I think eventually we want to come up with a mobile UI, because right now it doesn't look very good on mobile. Yeah. And then, yeah, most of the packages out there are written with Node in mind, so trying to bring it into Deno can be tricky. Okay. Let's make it so that when the page first loads, this does not show the edit form. It actually just displays a card, and then that card you can click edit on. Cool. I don't need to send back the data. I already have the updated values. Isn't checking for the status code enough? Sure, but it's not a RESTful API at that point. So if you look up the REST specification, most APIs that have an update route respond with the thing that you just updated, the full thing, regardless of if the client's going to use it or not. But yeah. Isn't it funny, Killer? It's like, I mean, I don't know if people actually do it on their job. I think people on the job are like, they have more guardrails, because it's like, oh, I know I need to work on this specific thing today. Like, we could literally just tweak the UI of this little card here for hours, and people would keep giving me feedback on it. Thank you. Is this name available? Who says my UI is very intuitive. So my only design experience is building web apps. There are certain like UI patterns that I just really don't like, and I know they're not as intuitive. Like, I don't like modals. I've talked about this earlier. So one of the things that like I forget where I read this or heard this, but user interfaces should be forgiving. So that's one of the things we were working on today. Like, when I click this delete button, it's possible that somebody clicked that by accident, right? Oh, we're in an ad. Pause. We're in an ad. And I'll take this time to ask you to sub with Prime if you haven't. Yeah, and thank you for all these follows. Appreciate you. Yeah. Yeah, and if you're new here, I do have a YouTube channel. I actually just uploaded a video today on what your first programming language should be. And it's Match. Thank you very much for that, Prime. And then Blazer is mentioning you'll end up having different patterns for different users. This is what happens in the real life. Yeah, and so basically, like, this whole confirmation dialog thing is like, that's the UI is forgiving. If a user accidentally clicked this, I don't want to make catastrophic changes that they couldn't undo. The other thing is, like, if I go in here and I haven't made any changes, clicking cancel should just let me cancel. Like, I shouldn't have to say, yes, I'm sure I want to cancel, because I haven't made any changes yet. So those are the kinds of things that I've just used a lot of UIs that I know when I'm using a UI, I want it to behave that way. That's the main thing. So, yeah. Check out for a week, and I'm suddenly using Trello. Yeah, what's up, Dr. Thu? We spent an entire 3-hour stream pulling all of our to-dos out into a Trello board just to make the thing a bit more manageable. What do I think about Vue or React for long term? Both of those are a solid choice, I think. Change it to disabled. Oh, you mean like the save button should be disabled? Quick stretch. Ad should be over now. If you have an ad blocker, you're probably not getting ads. Scroll into view. Yeah, I want to revamp this whole thing. So right now, you'll see that like if I click on another one, it's gonna go out and back to it. Oh, actually, did we already do this? Yeah, so we moved the edit form to the top. Okay. I forgot that we did that. For a while, this edit form was like in line with each of the lists. But now it stays in one spot, which is nice. So we can do a scroll into view. Yeah. What about Angular? Yeah, I think Angular is a good choice for long term as well. Any of the like established things I think are good choices. Like if you ultimately, it's everything these days is about developer experience. Like, do you like the developer experience that Angular provides or React provides or that Vue provides? And if you do, go with it. All three of those I think are solid choices in the modern day. Yeah. Okay. What are we doing? We're gonna turn this into a card. Yeah, Svelte is honestly a really good choice as well. Though it's a little bit newer and like younger, so the ecosystem is a bit smaller, meaning it doesn't have a lot of the community packages that like React or Vue has. React probably has the most community support. Most people are using React, but I think Vue and Svelte have a better developer experience. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. Okay. What we want is in the sidebar. So in the sidebar, this list form should not be displayed if we haven't told it to. So basically we want something like editing list as a state value. Let's import that in. So import use state from Preact hooks. Hey, thank you, Denny. We're working with a framework called Deno. Deno the dinosaur, like from the Flintstones. So that's why I'm wearing a dinosaur t-shirt. Who likes Angular's dev experience? That also, so not only do you have like developer experience, it's like team experience. So like Angular really forces you to like document everything. I mean, especially because it's TypeScript, but and especially like it also Angular like sets you up to test everything by default. So that's why I think like depending on your team, you might actually consider that a good developer experience because you want your team to have the least amount of friction to write tests or whatever else. So yeah, not that React is bad, is that like there are a lot of things that React does not do for you that you have to do manually that a lot of these other frameworks do automatically for you. And that is developer experience. Like as a developer, I write less code. As a developer, there's less things that I have to worry about because the framework is handling it. Whereas with React, you have a whole lot of control, and I think sometimes too much control, which results in potentially buggy code or code that's might be hard to optimize. But that's just my experience. A lot of really great things have been built with React, and you can build great things with React. I'm purely just talking about like my experience working with other things and how much better my life was as a developer working with other things. Okay, we want a state variable that says is editing list, and then set is editing list. Yeah. I would agree with that, Johnny. And that's like another developer experience thing. Like Angular has a lot of opinions and it enforces them on... it enforces those opinions, which means that as a team, you're going to have a more consistent experience. I can say that like working on a team of React developers, like developers already have a lot of opinions. Right? Developers are opinionated people. And then once you add React into the mix, where there's a lot of different ways to do things, there's a lot of choices for like various packages that you're using, that can create a lot of time spent just discussing those things as a team versus using a framework that's already made those opinions for you. All right. If we're editing the list, show the list form. Otherwise, we'll show a card. And right now, I'm going to do it manually. So we have a div with card margin bottom 2. Let's do that. And this is the other thing, like, I don't like to extract out into components until I know that it's going to be used in more than one place. I know there are development teams that will literally make out a plan and say, oh, we need this component and this component and this component, and like hand that off to their junior developer to go create some components. This technically could be in a component called list card. I'm not using it anywhere else in the app. Maybe I am, but right now I don't think I'm using it anywhere else, so I don't think it makes sense to extract into a component. That's like premature optimization in a way. Cool. And then this should be editing list value name, and then editing list value description. And it's possible that editing list would it help with readability? Sure, I think that's another thing to think about as well. So like maybe this isn't used in multiple places, but if it's like 30 lines long, it might make sense to put it in its own component just so you don't have to look at it in the middle of this component here. Yeah, so that's a consideration to make as well. Okay. Really, this whole thing should only happen if I hate to have a nested ternary, but really we need editing list value. If that's a thing, then we do this business. I guess I don't have to do a nested ternary. I could do this. So if the editing list has a value, then if we're editing list, show the form. If we're not, show the card. So now, by default, it should just show a card. And it doesn't. We've broken everything. Oh, it is. Yeah, it's here. It just looks exactly like the spots. It looks exactly like the spots. Let's fix that. I'm going to see what our other options are for cards. Because like we can give it a different header color just so it's very clearly separate from the spots. I think maybe we want, let's do it. We'll do an info card. Do an info card. Background info. And then I guess, is there a way to do border background info and border info? Let's try it. I gotta do predictions. Here's the thing. If I wait for predictions on every little thing I do, we're gonna be here forever. Cool. All right. So that's a little bit better because it does differentiate from the spots. And I'm just gonna put the background info on the card header. And then also, let's do like a margin bottom of 4, just so there's like a lot of space between the list card and then each individual spot. Like that. You try. Okay. Now we need an edit button. It's like if we don't do predictions, I'm going to be productive. Yeah. Weird UI shift. Yeah, and so this is what Oscar was talking about. Technically, we want to scroll this into view whenever we show it. Yeah. Welcome, Tanner. Project's going all right. I think it's looking better. Yeah, it's going all right. The shrink expand. Oh, like meaning well, it should always be the same size. Yeah, so no matter which one we're on, it's always the same size. But anytime it changes, we probably do want to scroll it into view though. Okay, so at this point now I want a button where when I click edit, that sets is editing to true, and then we see the edit form. And so let's put that in the card body. Let's see, do they have cards with buttons? It's like could do like an inline modal. Card footer. I think that's what we want. Wait, is that at the same level as card body? Yeah, card body and then card footer. Cool. So now in the card footer, we can have ourselves a little button. And then this will be button warning. Edit list. Let's see what that looks like. Nice. Looks good to me. Can we replace this with the geosite theme? Actually, I'm curious what that would look like. Yeah. So Bootswatch is a themed version of Bootstrap. So if you go to bootswatch.com, you can see they have all these different themes. Like we're specifically using Darkly, but they also have these, and like Materia technically looks like Material Design, but these are swap-in replacements for the Bootstrap CSS. So if you're using Bootstrap CSS right now, swap it out for one of these, and your whole UI will change to look like this. I want to put this button on the end. How do we do that? Flex, justify, end. This guy tailwinds. I did it. I put it on the right. Okay. And then when I click this, I wanna set it to that. Should it be yellow? Terawatt is saying too many colors. I mean, I kind of agree. Make the button a pencil. Yeah, we need to add icons. Let's see. Is this what you're running? Border success and background success and then button success. Let's see what this looks like. Did we update this green color? 42 B2 5D. Yeah, we did. That's kind of, I think I like this better. I think you're right, Terawatt. I don't know what we're gonna do, but basically, this is the list info. These are the spots. So we do need some clear indicator of that. Are you gonna get a preview of my Halloween costume? You could. I gotta figure out where everything is. I actually wore it to Comic-Con or Fan Expo back in July. Put the pin icon to the left of the spot name. That could be cool too. Nest the cards? Yeah, so these like could be inside of a card of their own. Let's just see what that looks like, and then we'll work on the other things, because like technically, I mean, it's kind of ugly. That's all right. I think we'll run into some weird... I guess we don't run into really any weird issues there. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Xerox Gamer. There's a lot of ways to skin this, but we'll just do that for now. And actually, yeah, I do think if I put a horizontal rule, that could help us too. Yeah. Let's set this state variable. So when I click on this button, we want to set the is editing list to true. So on click. Set is editing list to true. And then that will make the that will make the list pop up like this. Now, this save button, we should actually replace with the confirmation dialog, so that way we can cancel saving. Because right now we only have the option to delete, and then when we click save, the idea there was we would basically replace this with, we'd go back to the card. Nasty shift. You don't think the list header should be in a card? You mean the best parks? That should just be. You think that should be in the card body, or what do you mean? It is a nasty shift, but what else are we gonna do? What else are we gonna do? An opacity transition? I mean, we could do that, but we're doing a React conditional render here, and that's not, I mean, we could toggle the visibility, or the opacity and size. That's more work though. I don't want to do that right now. All right, let's see. I think there might actually be a card title. There's not, but we could make it just an H2. Isn't React condition an anti-pattern? Not that I know of. I mean, there might be other ways. No, not that I know of. This is how people react. They do conditional like this, or they do ternaries. That's how you do it. Remove the card, just increase the font size? Okay, so like you're saying it shouldn't be in a card at all. That looks pretty good. That does look good. Yeah. When you add a spot, you have to go back to the list and hit save there. Oh, no. Each individual spot is individually saved. Like this. Add it, boom. So that's separate from the list properties. Yeah, and so then we don't need this parent one to be a card or with padding like this. The edit button is ugly now? Do I think the user will understand that? I don't know. We might have to readdress it. Man, I'm sorry to hear that, Codex, because I feel this all the time. Like almost every time I go to the park to walk my dog, there are people there with off-leash dogs. Let's just rant for a second about off-leash dogs. I don't know if this is the same way in other countries, but for whatever reason, there are a lot of people that are okay with just bringing their dog out in public without putting a leash on it. Like, oh, my dog is nice. My dog's not nice, so put a leash on your dog. There's been a couple of dog parks that I went to, also where like the owner doesn't have voice control over their dog. Not that their dog is a robot, but you should be able to control your dog via voice, or you should intervene if they're doing some weird stuff. But I've been in situations, yeah, and like this is what I'm worried about. So like, the thing is, for the most part, my dog is nice, but you can never tell like if a dog is gonna snap. And so yeah, like this is what I worry about. Like I've watched some videos on how do you get a dog off of another dog if they're being attacked? Because there are certain, not certain dogs, but if a dog is attacking another dog, it's very often that it will bite it and then not let go at all. And it's like almost impossible to get it to release its jaws. So I've watched videos on like different techniques you can use to do that if that happens. Well, that's the thing. I'm glad it worked out, Codex. At least you got the dog off by putting it in a headlock. Because the thing is, like, there are certain dogs that are so used to like being choked from their leash that putting them in a headlock actually doesn't affect them. So the video that I watched, they say you need to find like a belt or something. Which you can like wrap around their neck, and then you pull on it, and I think there's like if you do like a jerking motion, you're trying to get the dog to at least release their bite for a second, so that way you can pull them off. Now it's okay to derail because it's fun. It's a thing to talk about because like it happens every single day. Every single time I take my dog is always on a leash, but there are other owners that just have their off leash dogs, and all it takes is that dog running over to my dog. My dog doesn't like other dogs that are not on a leash. Like it feels like it needs to protect itself because it's on the leash. So my dog will get aggressive if it comes near it, and then that could trigger that dog to get aggressive back. And then now the owner has to run over and try and pull the dog off. Yeah. It's so unfortunate. Just saved a guy from losing his face. Yeah, it's ugh. And that's what I'm worried about. Like, I guess I'm more so worried about having to get some other dog off of my dog. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you saw on my dog walking stream, like I try to keep my dog close. Like he's always on a leash. And there are off-leash dog parks where it's basically a fenced-in area that you can bring your dog to and let them off the leash. But that's like the only place a dog should be off of its leash. Yeah. The dog owner reacted with zero concern. And that's typically what happens. Like they're just and you might not even blame it on the dog that was attacking. You blame it on the owner. It's a bad dog owner. I don't know, CFM. I mean, I guess it depends on the country you're in as well. Like how many other people have dogs and where do you take your dog? But even saying you respect other people's space, your dog may not, right? So like if your dog is walking 10 feet away from you, how do you make sure that it stays like within 10 feet of you? And if it gets any further away, how are you going to get your dog from attacking another dog or running away? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But again, I believe like it probably like it varies by the country that you're in or like what the rules and the norms are around there. But at least in the U.S. in cities in the U.S., dogs should be on a leash. Like they should just always be on a leash. Yeah. Yeah, there are laws around it, and I mean there are pretty often there are signs that say your dog must be leashed, but some people just don't care. This this and traffic laws and being a pedestrian are the things that really rile me up. Another thing is if your dog has a leash and the other dog doesn't, and if the other attacks your dog, it will be in a huge disadvantage. Yeah, because like if it's on the leash, yeah, it can be. Yeah. Moral of the story: the owner is an absolute idiot with a total lack of concern about other safety. It's true, but it's like if he would have just put his dog on a leash to begin with, we wouldn't be in this scenario. So, is it weird that I walk my cat on a leash? No, I don't think so. I know people that walk their cat on a leash. Loads of space. Yeah. Again, I think it depends on where you are, and I think like probably if you're in like even like a smaller town or a rural rural city in the United States, I think there's more leniency just because like most of the dogs know each other and a lot of the dogs are used to being like farm dogs or cattle dogs, that kind of thing. So they're used to being off leash and like they listen really well. But in a city, there's just so many people and so many dogs. You have to you got to keep them on a leash. Yeah. Ended up getting stitches. Yeah. In South Africa, people do whatever they want. Yeah. Is an API endpoint the same as a serverless function? In a way, typically you could take an API endpoint like from your Express app and refactor that to be just a single serverless function. But on its own, that doesn't make it a serverless function because it does have to be deployed as one. Yeah. We're using Mapbox. Well, Leaflet, and then we're using Mapbox Studio for the map tiles. Yeah. It is, yeah. Exclamation mark today will get you a link to the GitHub repo. Okay, I'm done ranting, but I'm sorry you had to deal with that codex. I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad you were able to get the dog off. But that I dread the day where I have to wrestle a dog off of my dog because that dog was off leash. Yeah. Have I tried indoor navigation? Like inside of a big building with like Google Maps or something like that? I haven't. Okay. Is everyone happy with his UI now? When I click edit list. I think some people were saying though, when I click edit list, it should actually be in line. So when I click edit list, this just needs to turn into an input box and this needs to turn into a text area. Is that what people are saying? Yeah. Cool. Welcome in, Pantrax. Specific, like, I think Deno does actually support Next to a basic extent. I haven't tried using it with that. Yeah, because like production ready is it's a big term. You could mean a lot of things by that. There are people using Deno in production, but they may or may not be using all the packages that you're used to in the Node.js world. So that's a thing. Editing list text should be green with no background. What do you mean by that? Oh, this. Edit list text should be green without a background. Oh, like an outline button? We could possibly do that. Let's see. Yeah, the only issue is that if I button outline is what we want. If we change this, then all of our work with this reusable form is out the window. Like we spent so much time on this form. I would hate to make a new form or like change the styles. This is an easy fix. So button outline success. Let's see what this looks like. Like this. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, and so Fresh was kind of like the next of Deno in a way, but at the same time, it doesn't do like the hybrid server-side rendering, hybrid single-page application. It's purely server-side rendered. There's nothing like that. What is that? Alf. There's another Deno framework that came out. Aleph.js. This is another framework that somewhat similar to Fresh, but is meant to actually be a full replacement for like, and do all of the same things that like Next or Nuxt do. Is this the time of the stream where we start procrastinating? Well, we only have about 30 minutes left. So let's get this UI working. I think right now this is fine. We're gonna stick with this UI. And then when I click edit list, what I want to do is I want to change this save button to be a confirmation dialog button. So this is going to be super interesting because we actually are going to nest a confirmation button within a confirmation button. Check this out. So, confirmation button is now going to be is rendering here, and then why confirmation for, well, no, not because I want a cancel button. I want to be able to click cancel and then just go back to the UI without the save button. That's the main issue right now, is I don't have a cancel button. But if I add a cancel button, then we want confirmation. There's still not going to be any confirmation for the save button. No, there's got to be a confirmation. I'm telling you. So really what we want is this. So this is going to render a confirmation button there. And honestly, on confirm just needs to say set is editing to false. And then we need to actually pass down is editing list. We need to pass this down to the list form. So that way it can toggle it from the parent like this. And then now we pass it down as a prop. And then this will be list form props. Interface here. Set is editing list is a function that returns unknown. And it's optional. So down here, we need to just make sure that it exists. Here. I want to autofocus some elements after change in the confirmation component for accessibility. Yeah, you're probably right. I think we talked about this before. And this is a function that takes in a Boolean value, like this. Yeah, I think we had tried. It's something something we'll do eventually. Cool. Eventually. All right, now this is what this gives us. We can click edit list, but now we can click cancel. We need to fix this. Are you sure you want to cancel? Discard changes. Then that gets rid of the. That's basically the UI that I wanted. Nice UI, bro. We'll fix this though. So like, honestly, the button size. That's one thing we actually didn't pass into the confirmation button, is the size of the buttons. Or did we? Oh, we did. Well, no, that's. And Ryan, thank you very much for the 10 months. Wow. Wow. We need to use that size right here as well. In this case, the size does matter. Wait. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this prop to just be button size, because I would assume that every button should all be the same size. Thank you for that. I can't read your name. Python and Chill. Thank you very much for the Prime. Appreciate you. That's what that thing does? You know, I've never checked that box before. Yeah, it shows, it actually shows your message in the overlay. And then let's rename this to button size. And it will default to regular size. I think. Welcome in, Phona Sophie. Phona Sophie. Glad to have you. Why is it so big? Oh, you know what? Rename is F2. In VS Code, it's F2. So, where was I? I was here. Yeah, if you just click on the variable name and then do F2. Why isn't this working? Oh, rename it in the interface? Yeah, welcome in, Mr. Zerny. Oh, I was pressing F3. It's, yeah, F2, type whatever name you want. And if you're using TypeScript, it can find all of the references and rename it. If you're using JavaScript, I think you can do that as well, but it might not be as good. First of all, what's happening here? Okay. Chief Mustardo, good evening. Thank you for that reset. Welcome in. Technically, this one is button large too. Oh, margin top 3. Okay. That's this. Margin top. Yeah, it's this. Totally right. Let's make it a prop. We'll make it a prop. Button container classes. Whole lot of props. And this is what I mean by we will refactor as we go. Like, as we find things that actually do need to be extracted out, we'll extract them out, like this. This interface is at the top. Where else should I put the interface? I mean, I could technically put it in a separate file, but I think this is the only place that this interface is being used. I think it's okay to put it in this file. Okay, I think that should remove the space. Yeah, so that removes the space. Though what I didn't think about is when we click cancel, now this delete button is technically still visible, and we want to replace all of it. Yeah. Wish I was this good. I'm not. I mean, apparently, if you're looking at the chat, we have a lot more experienced devs that don't think I'm that good. I've made really bad decisions so far. Take the delete out of the edit form and place it in the edit list button. I like that. Yeah, I like that, Veeb. And then we're not, wait, that's mt-3. We actually didn't fix it. We technically needed to, pass this in as empty string. But I like your idea. Where basically, this goes here. And then this, we move out to the sidebar where we had that delete button. Or, sorry, where we had the edit button. Why did we put the on-click there? Technically, that should be on the button itself. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't ignore your message, Blazer. I just... there's only so many things I can do. And I'm just trying to get this done. So... card footer, text muted, justify end. Yeah, that whole thing should be this. Then technically this also is a flexbox. So I think this is going to be fine. Why did we put this in? Okay, you're right. I put this there. You're totally right. And for now, this does nothing. We'll have to extract out that. We'll have to bring the function up to the parent. Yeah, so now this has a delete. If we go into edit, we can discard our changes, or we can save our changes. But now when we save our changes, we need to set editing list to false. Let me just do that really quick. So in the list form, when save is done, put set is editing list to false. Wait, do we not have access to this? Oh, if it exists. So now, moment of truth. I can click edit. I can do this. I can click save, and now it saves it, and we're back to this UI here. Best parks in Denver. Save. Boom. Done. Now if I click delete, that does give me the confirmation, which is great. But I do need to add that delete function. I need to move the delete function up. Yeah, and you're right. We'll change the delete button to be an outline button as well. But can we? I think the this will be outline danger, but then this is going to complain because it's not in our variant here. Let's see. Yeah, now we can do this. Cool. Shouldn't the slug be updated as well? Yeah, you're totally right. And then we actually need, you're totally right. We need to handle that in the update API route. Let me just add a note really quick so I don't forget. And we'll do that before stream is over. So list ID put to do today. Update slug. Cool. Start thinking about where we're putting ads. What do you mean by that? Oh, like in the UI? No ads. No ads. Well, I want to do it today. All of these things I want to finish. So the first thing is, let's get that delete button working. So we moved the delete list from the list form. So this function, there's a function in here called delete list, I do believe. This. We can literally just pull this entire function, pull that into the sidebar. Because on confirm, we want to delete the list. And then now I can define delete list right here. And really, I should show if there was a deletion error. It's just so much. It's just so much I have to do. Okay, let's add another state variable. Delete error. Set delete error. Starts off as nothing. If there was an error, we set it there. And then if the error exists, we need to show it in this little UI right here. Right here. We'll throw in the alert box. I don't know if that pulled in the right one. Should need a message property. Yeah, so we have our alert component. How does the alert component work? I don't know. Do we have to manually conditionally render it? I think we do. So if delete error has a value, then show that alert right there. Cool. Cool. Now, I can click this delete. Are you sure you want to delete this list? This cannot be undone, and all associated spots will be deleted as well. Keep the list. I already have a bunch of spots, so I don't want to delete it. But let's delete best Thai food in Denver, because this one doesn't have any spots. Delete. We get redirected. It got deleted. Great. Great. Now, this edit, technically, we should be able to cancel. If we haven't made any changes, it should be an immediate cancel. That's another thing we need. I'm going to put that in the backlog. as a little like user experience thing. When editing list, cancel should be immediate if there are no changes. And this is a little UX thing. Okay, at this point, let's update the slug. So you see that the title is now Best Parks in Denver. We want this to update the slug whenever we update everything else. Yeah. Now I have to think through. Are we gonna be able to handle this? Like if they, oh yeah, I totally forgot. The slug generation that we were using, technically, it'll auto increment if the slug is already in use. And Tanner Barcelos, thank you very much for that tier 1. Appreciate you. Yeah. Okay. Discard is inside cancel. I think this is fine. Like delete's at the top level. If you're going to edit, you're not deleting it. It's good enough for now. This is very important. Terawatt. I'm going to hide my screen and then I'm going to click on it. Oh, is this your cat? Yeah, this is important. You're right. Let's take a second to look at this cat. Does this cat have a name? Nice cat. Yeah. I mean, I trust you sometimes. This is like r/iBleach. Hopefully this is still a thing. Yeah, you can just look at this for for fun pictures of animals. Oh, he got his wheelchair. Nice. Trust but verify. Exactly. Oh. Oh. Okay. Admire his name? His name is Volt. That's a good name. I do like that name. Cool. I don't have the old Reddit extension. I have it in my user settings. I tell it that I prefer the old Reddit. But then I have the Reddit enhancement suite. So the Reddit enhancement suite adds like these little inline buttons. Though I think Reddit added these at one point, so this may not be the Reddit enhancement suite anymore. Boop. Update the slug. That's what we need to do, and then I will go. So if we look in our DB queries, whenever we are creating a list, so in our create one, we are getting the slug based on the name, and if that slug already exists, we increment it. So this I actually want to extract out into a function that I can reuse in update one. So we'll just say like let slug equal await get slug with list.name, like this. And then we'll have a function get slug with a name, which is a string. And then it does this and then returns the slug. And here we just pass in the name. And we make this async. So basically this uses this slugify package to generate the slug based on the name. It removes any special characters, adds dashes, and then we need to make sure that that slug doesn't already exist, because if it does exist, we append a number onto the end of it. So that's awesome. Now, whenever we are updating a spot, we can do that. So I can say the slug is await get slug with list.name. And then this will be an async function. And then we pass in the slug right there. That should do it. So now when I edit the list to say best parks in Denver ever, and I save it, that actually Okay, so this should work. It updated the slug, but now if I refresh the page, technically the slug is wrong, so it's going to say not found. That's what I just thought of. That's why I like looked into this guy. But if I go back here and I click edit, now we can see that the slug is best parks in Denver, Enver. Ever, not Enver, ever. Save. So shouldn't you check if it's not its own? There's no way to do that. Well, yeah, actually you're totally right, because then it would increment. I think you're totally right, because if I edit this list and then save it, every single time I think I'm incrementing. Yeah, you're totally right. So the issue with that, though, is I would need another database query, because the thing is I don't know what the slug is until I've queried for it. Oof. Enver. Yeah, what's up, Spy Legion? Welcome in. Okay. I mean, what if I do this? What if I pass in the name and the ID? Let's do that. We're going to pass in the name and the ID. And ID is optional. ID is a number, which is optional. If ID, this is fine, because ID will never be 0, because it's a database thing. We can grab the existing slug. So select from spot list where ID is ID. Dot select, I just want the slug. So that'll give me back an object with the slug property. So this will be the existing list. So we can say existing slug is this. How do I do this? How do I destructure and then put it into an existing variable? Isn't this a thing? Do you remember who came up with that slug mechanism idea? I do, Terawatt, and I appreciate you for it. But you didn't think through all the scenarios. Though we were just thinking about creating, not updating. Updating is a whole other beast. What if another tries to update with the same name? Oh, we already handled that here. That's really weird, Codex. If I rename the columns, I would need to rename my interfaces. And then these, I don't know if TypeScript, if I did like a refactor, I don't know if it actually would rename the things in the quotes here. Okay, let's do this, because I don't know how to figure out that, or how to write the destructuring there. Oh, we're in an ad. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not doing anything important. It's okay. Why? it's an array. Oh, goodness, thank you. I was like, wait, what? Okay, I can destructure that. Like that. So now we got the existing slug. If the existing slug is equal to the slug that we just generated, don't even sweat, dog. Just return the existing slug. Because this is the scenario where you're updating a list, the name of the list stays the same. There's no need to increment it. That's what we're handling right here. Okay. So now, whenever we pass this in, it's going to see that the slug that it already exists, and keep the slug name. So if I do best parks in Denver, save that, go back to the list, it's best parks in Denver --1. But if I just change the description, the slug should still be best parks in Denver --1. Oh no, it's not. No, it's not going to. Man, because I'm gonna have to remove the dash on the end. Right? What are you linking me? Oh, how how did you? The thing is the link cut off. Oh, the whole thing needs to be wrapped in parentheses. I see. Okay. Though I think what I just did will fix it. So this should stay best parks in Denver --1. It does. It does. Okay, good to go. And we updated it. It's still best parks in Denver --1. Great. But best parks in Denver ever, if I save this, let me go back. Now it should be best parks in Denver ever. Great. And then if we only update the description and I save it, the thing is still best parks in Denver ever. Okay, so one thing is I don't want to do a full page refresh on save. So can I do like history.pushState best parks, and then nothing. How can I change the URL? Because I want to change the URL without refreshing. Well, href refreshes the page. And I don't want to refresh the page. Yeah, replace state. I think replace state makes sense. And then they're saying pass in my object, in this case, no state, and then that. Slash? No habla inglés. Oh, I'm missing an... Man, this is not an intuitive API. There's another thing there. That's what I wanted. It's 3 params. Whew. Whew. Okay, so now, if I'm in the list form and I just saved, we just did a put. If the response was okay, set is editing list false. and then we replace the state with the new slug. So the data dot slug. Data? Check it out. Best parks in Denver ever, ever, ever. Save. Oh, look at that URL. And then if I press back, because we did replace state, this should still take me to the dashboard. And it does. Man, it's like we know what we're doing, but it broke. For whatever reason, when I pressed back, it actually didn't refresh the page. But yeah, so that's cool because it this guy codes. It updated the thing. Great. Best Parks in Denver --1. And then Best Parks in Denver, okay. Wow. Save. Go back. Hover. Yeah, so for whatever reason, when I click back, this doesn't have the latest value. You know what it is? Fresh is caching this. Yeah, Fresh is caching this. How do we tell it to not do that? Oh, man. Well, yeah. So, but the browser is loading from the cache because when Fresh serves it up, it gave it a header that said it should be cached. That could be interesting, huh, Oscar? I think people have thought about it, like, people have wanted to, right? So, like, if you let's say you only want to opt in to modern JavaScript and get rid of all the weird things that are left over from all the years of JavaScript being around. So, if I go here and then we press back. Oh, I have disable cache on. Okay, let's try again. If I go to the edit and then I press back, dashboard, the list request is server rendered. So if we look at the dashboard route, just don't use Fresh. If you look at the dashboard route here, this is actually doing like a server render. So this is kind of like get server side props in Next. And Gion, thank you very much for that sub. This basically runs before the page is rendered, and for whatever reason, it's not running it again when we go back. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to put it in the backlog as a bug. When on list edit page, if the user presses back, the list of lists is not updated. This is a bug. Cool. As a list editor, I want to edit all the properties of the list. We can move that into done. Okay, let's let's just do a review of all the work we did today, and then I gotta go. Clear the history. Can I do that with JavaScript? Make them use the UI to navigate to the dashboard. Oh, like if they press back. I think I could intercept the press back and then do a window location href and tell it not to use the cache, something like that. I don't know. But here's what we worked on today. So when you go in to edit a list, now it starts off like this. You can see that it has the title and it has the description. We refactored our confirmation button. So if you tuned in 2 or 3 streams ago, we basically made it so that if you make some changes when you're editing a specific spot, when you click cancel, there's a confirmation of that, because it's possible that you click that by accident. And if you clicked it by accident, then you would have lost your changes. I mean, I just added a few dots, but I could have made a lot of changes that I would potentially lose. So we have this confirmation dialog that says, yeah, get rid of those changes. But that was inside of this component. Today we refactored it, so now that it's reusable, and we're using it in multiple places. First, we're using it on the delete button. You're right, Terawatt. I mean, I'll put it in the backlog, like, and this is like, really, this is an accessibility thing and a bug. Input focus should UI should focus inputs when forms are revealed. And this is a bug and a user experience, and then we'll create a label for accessibility. How do you spell accessibility? Accessibility. That seems right. Two S's. I got there. Almost. But yeah, you make a good point, Terawatt. So essentially, when I click this button, this should focus, because a screen reader technically, like, it would have lost focus of the button, and then I actually don't even know where the focus would go from there. But you can see here how we're reusing that component. So when I click delete, it's like, are you sure you want to delete this list? This cannot be undone. So this is a prop that we pass into that component, so we can dynamically set what the confirmation says, and we can also pass in what these button things say. So if I say keep, then it doesn't delete, which is great. And then if we go into edit the list, we have a similar confirmation dialog on this cancel button, because again, if I make changes here, I got to be sure that I want to actually discard those changes. And then the other thing we did is we got this edit form actually working. So if I do this and then like change some other properties, and then click save, that updates this. What we just got working is it actually updates the URL as well. And if I go to the home page, we can see that this has the updated slug based on the name as well. Bottom right is where accept buttons are supposed to be. Yeah, if you're in a left to right language, so American English is left to right. If you come from a language that's right to left, then it makes more sense to have confirmation on the left. What I think of using archive instead of delete, it would take some work because we don't have soft deletes in our database. We could update it though, but that would be a fairly major overhaul, because we'd need to go into all of our models and add like a deleted at date or something like that. And then all of our queries would also need to include where deleted at is not null, that kind of thing. But I've worked on apps like that before, where basically whenever you delete, it's not a hard delete, it's more of a soft delete. But yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we made some good progress today. Let me show that delete button working. So, did I ignore you? I guess I did. Have I heard about headless UI? I haven't. Is this what Codex mentioned? Or they mentioned a component toolkit, so you don't have to worry about ARIA. Oh, or that's where you mentioned Mantine does that for you. Interesting. Are these accessible? Ooh, I gotta go. Okay, best Thai food in Denver. A spaghetti. Cool. So we have our list. We can go in. We can add a spot. Let's say there's Good food tie. That doesn't really exist. I'm just testing this. Mantine? Man-time? I don't know what man-time is. Yeah, a lot of people get ignored. There's a lot of people here. There's 285 roughly people here. I can only do so much. So I can add a spot. Great. I can edit. Best Thai food in Denver ever. That should update the thing. Great. I can go back here. Awesome. And then I can delete this list. Yes, please delete it. Takes me back here. Whew. Whew. Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right, Oscar. I mean, honestly, that should be a really quick fix. On the sidebar, if editing list.spots.length is not a thing, then we want to show like a little H3 that says click the map to add a spot. Nice. So if I create a list, Oscar's salad places. I don't know why I find that funny. Create. Click this map to add a spot. Cool. We can make this... Somebody got mad at me a few streams ago for using header tags to change the font size. You calling me fat? No, I'm just saying, you seem like a guy that likes to eat salad. Click the map to add a spot. Then we click it, and then, well, if there are no length and editing spot doesn't have a value, show click the map to add a spot. Nice. It's happening. It's happening. So, next time we will work on getting these lists shared. So at this point, we have these slugs. Now we can actually create a public link that people can click on to see these lists. Okay. Yeah. It's a good suggestion, Valk. I've thought about this in the past where basically, like, I mean, and this is what I've considered as well. So right now, I see literally every single chat message. Yeah, I'm going to raid. But I see every single chat message that comes through. But at a certain point, we could make it so that my moderators choose what messages show up on my screen. The issue with that is then it's up to the moderator discretion, and then new people might be less inclined to chat because they don't see their chats. Oh yeah, so I will deploy, but one thing I need to fix again before I deploy is if you click on not in the sidebar, on the dashboard list. This is one more bug that I'm gonna fix. And actually, let me just move it from working on it's this one. Dashboard list should link to edit by ID if slug is not defined. We're gonna fix this bug real quick. So we're on the routes. We're on the dashboard index. Right now, there's a little anchor tag that goes to the slug. But if there is no slug, then we'll go by ID. And that should fix the bug that Limeoats was having. Cool. So I'll deploy. What did we do today? Extract, confirmation, buttons, update list. Cool. So to deploy it, I just push it up because I'm using Deno.dev, which is a way to deploy Deno apps and other apps. I think technically you can deploy Node apps here as well. Cool, and it's an instant deploy. It literally did it that quick, and so now we should be able to test this in prod. Don't have any lists, but Limeotes, let me know. So if you go log in, refresh your dashboard page, tell me if you can click on the thing that was breaking before. And Alex Caesar, thank you very much for that Prime. Appreciate you. How can you buy 200,000 seedlings? I don't think you can. And you know what? I totally forgot. So it's still broken. Well, did it at least, the URL looks better. So the URL has the ID in it now, right? I thought we allowed edit by ID. Maybe we didn't. Oh, well. Then I didn't fix it. I'll put it in the to-do. But if you look in the seedling redemptions, I added this 200,000 seedling redemption where you can request to be a mod. And I just realized that people that have won the predictions a lot could get more seedlings faster, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But the idea of me setting the price here was that, like, typically seedlings are based on how long you've been watching. Yeah. No end-to-end testing when pushing. Nope. we have 0 tests right now. That's for a future thing. Murdoch has 807. No, there's no way. Oh, real? Wait. I was about to say there's no way, but with betting, it's very possible for you to have like 800,000 seedlings. Huh. But yeah, welcome in, Shrey. We're just ending the stream, but this, yeah, you did the command. Nice. Yeah, we're working on this app, Fresh Spots. It's this. I'll give you the quick demo before we go. So we can create a list like best pizza in NYC. All the spots. And then we add a pizza emote. So you give it a name and a description, click create. Oh my. Never mind. I can't demo it in prod. I need to migrate the prod DB. I'm gonna go. I have to go. But if you're interested in this app that we're working on, all the code is on GitHub. And then if you check out the YouTube playlist, this is, I believe, episode 15, where we've been working on this app. Yeah, nice ending. The thing is broken. I need to run the migrations against the production database. Yeah. I guess that's true, right, Ryan? Basically, by shifting the seedlings around, they're still technically a part of the community. The bad ending. Come on. I can't always promise a happy ending. Cool. Quick shouts out for all my stuff. Follow my my YouTube channel and the Coding Garden archive, where all of these streams get uploaded within a couple of days. I did publish a new YouTube video. What programming language should I learn first? So if you have an opinion on this, go comment on this video. Yeah. Go comment on this video. Give it a like if you enjoy it. And also, if you have someone in your life that's trying to learn to code and they don't know what to do, so you can send them that video as well. Which one should you learn? I suggest HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I suggest web development. Yeah. No, it's true, Valk. Like, technically, if we're taking longer to code and these things are broken, like, yeah, you know that column slug doesn't exist bug? That's going to be 8 hours to fix, minimum. Minimum. An HTML programmer. Oh, yeah, thank you for that. So I do have a personal channel that I'm going to do some IRL streams on. I did my first IRL stream on this channel yesterday, so you can go check it out. That's just me walking around in Denver. And I mean, honestly, I'm amazed at the quality I'm able to achieve. It's all over either 5G or LTE. I'm just using a phone for everything. But I've been doing a whole lot of walks. So tune in over there, drop a follow, and you can tune in. I might do an IRL stream this evening. No guarantee, but I might. So follow over there if you want to tune in. All right, let's go on a raid. Programmers don't exit their caves. I agree, but that's the whole point, is I'm trying to get in shape. I mean, It's getting better. It's getting better. So yesterday was a 2.5 mile walk. You promise if more than 100? Yeah, we're at 107. I mean, technically, yeah, you're right. Technically, when I went live yesterday, I only had like 97 followers, but I was like, that's close enough. And so, honestly, I'm gonna try to build my follower base and everything over on the W3CJ channel for like the next month. If within a month, like this really hasn't grown much, I'm just gonna keep doing IRL stuff on the Coding Garden channel. And if you don't like it, yeah, you don't have to follow Coding Garden. That's about it. Yeah, I think shouting it out here, and then also, I'm not gonna send notifications in the Discord, but there is a channel on the Discord where I'll share it. It's not going to be like an @ here or an @ everyone, but anytime I go live on my IRL channel or on my personal channel, I'll post a link in Discord as well. All right, let's go on a raid. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thanks for all of the suggestions. Thanks for all of your participation. If at any point you provided a suggestion and I was like, no, or I was like, that's not a good idea, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. There's a lot of people here. I have a lot of ideas. You all have a lot of ideas. And this is the result of the culmination of all of our ideas. So let's go on a raid. It's true, Essence Spark. It's spreading the support. So people that support me here may not have the money to support me over there. It's true. It's true. But I think ultimately, I'm just trying to become a variety streamer, I guess. Alrighty, everyone. Let's wait for the overlay to update. Wait, where is that overlay? There it is. Yeah. Oh, a good call, Valk. Like technically I could stream here, raid there, and like stay live, but I don't know. Let's head out. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Be sure to join us in the raid. Stick around, and until next time, here is this.